What's up, people? In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the buffs and nerfs that have come to Rogue with this new patch, and then we're going to see if that either made them move up or down on our tier list. We're also going to take a look at Seeker and see where he belongs on this tier list and in the meta in general. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, let's go ahead and start off with Seeker first, because he's the new Rogue, and I know people kind of want to know how he fares against the other Rogues. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about his weapons. So he has an AR called the Sahara, which deals about 24 to the body and then 30 to the head, which isn't bad damage. At close range, it can really shred some people down. Now, the fire rate is about 7.25, which is fairly fast. And another thing to note about this gun is that it does really well in that short to mid range. Now, where this gun falls off a little bit is when you have people that are out in the long range. It has a lot of recoil and it kicks up a lot, so it really bucks. So keep that in mind if you're going to be using Seeker. Now, the other weapon that he has is called the Aaron. Now, the Aaron is very good at long range. Hits for about 48 to the head, 32 to the body, and if you fully upgrade it, it doesn't have any damage fall off, so you can really be sniping some people. Comes in handy on certain maps where the Sahara just can't get the job done. Now, for gadgets, he has two of the best gadgets, I think. He has the sticky sensor and the bounce nade. The sticky sensor is great for getting vision on parts of the map where people may be trying to flank, while the bounce grenade on Seeker is going to be able to hit people for 200 damage if you bounce it right. It is crazy fully upgraded. Now, for perks, Seeker has Evade, Berserker, Stalker, Bounce Back, Life Drain, and Lifeline. Now, Life Drain, Lifeline, Bounce Back, these perks are very good on Seeker because he is a rogue that plays really good from the back line, and having perks like this allow him to survive, and not only that, but res his teammates very quickly. So that's going to be a positive for Seeker mains. Now, the downer for Seeker is his bow and arrow, which sounds ridiculous to say, I know, but it only hits for 50 to the body and then 75 to the head. Now, his ability Ricochet can make it deal 60% bonus damage, so a headshot on a Ricochet can hit for 120. Notable, that's still not enough to kill somebody with Headstrong. Another good thing about his bow, though, is that it will reveal anybody on the flight path of the arrow, so that can be very useful in certain situations. Now, all in all, I think Seeker probably needs to be reworked a little bit or buffed up a little bit. And I say this because out of the Intel rogues, Seeker is the worst right now. And a lot of people, once they realize that his bow is very lackluster, he's not really Hawkeye, a lot of people are starting to pull away from him. I'm going to go ahead and put Seeker in the B tier for now, with the potential to move up to A tier if they do one of two things. They either need to increase the damage of his arrow or increase the amount of time people are revealed, and I think that would bring Seeker somewhat in line with the other two Intel rogues. Next up on this list, we need to talk about Segret. Segret has had some pretty massive changes with this new patch. So basically, Segret no longer has Evade. She now has a completely new perk called Toughen Up, which is going to reduce melee damage by 30%. So this makes Segret a little bit more of a bully when she's getting in there close, and it makes it almost impossible for people to beat her down before she can actually kill them with the shield bash. So very good improvement for Segret there. And she also no longer has tracker rounds, but instead has life drain, and this is huge because now she can actually be a bully, right? She'll be able to beat people down or shoot out with people, get that 50 health back, and keep going, kind of like a mini Lancer. So with that being said, in this buff, we have taken Segret from C tier to high B tier. I think she's still not going to be a meta rogue, a top tier A or S rogue, but she's definitely going to be a rogue that people may start choosing a little more often. Next up on our list is going to be Scorch. Scorch has received two nerfs, the first one being overheat. So the damage of overheat has been reduced from 5 per tick to 4 per tick, and I've already been speaking with the community, and people feel that nerf, especially in demolition and like competitive games, because leaving somebody with 1 or 2 health can be the difference between winning and losing. So the effectiveness of Scorch is definitely been reduced, and people are feeling that a little bit. Now, on top of that, the Arbitrator was also nerfed, which is technically an Anvil and a Scorch nerf. So the body damage from Arbitrator has gone from 104 to 90. So this means that it is no longer a one shot to the body, and that is going to take away a lot of the reason that people used the Arbitrator when they did did. It was a gun that already didn't get a lot of play, especially in demolition, and now I think people are going to play it even less. So with these nerfs in mind, I'm going to move Scorch from being a tier rogue to like a high B tier or maybe a low A tier rogue. She still has some great potential. With a good team, she can still burn some people down, but she just isn't as good as she once was. She's definitely not as good as she was a month ago. And if you pair that with the nerf that she already got in the last update, where now Overheat has a higher cooldown, it just makes her a rogue that people may not want to pick up as often. The next rogue we need to talk about here is going to be Vi. Vi has lost tenacity but gained bounce back. And I will say this, if tenacity was in the same state that it was a month ago, this would be definitely a nerf. But since tenacity has been nerfed, bounce back is actually not a bad perk to have with Vi. So this isn't really that much of a nerf for her. I'm going to say that Vi is still going to be a high A tier rogue or an S tier rogue. So she's going to still be in a good spot. The last rogue we're going to talk about here is going to be Dahlia. Now, the change for Dahlia is that she can no longer link to down-friendly players. Now, in pubs, you may not have seen this technique a whole lot, but in competitive, apparently it was used quite a bit. Now, the thing is, they would wait for somebody to go down, and then they would link to whoever that was, right? So you could get a safe res off from range. Now, the con of that is that you didn't get maybe the ideal perk, but you were able to get your teammate up and then go from there. Now, I don't think this is going to be a real big nerf for Dahlia. I think she's going to be just as strong as she was, just that now people are going to have to link up before somebody goes down, pretty much. So all in all, this isn't really going to stop Dahlia. She's still going to be a S tier, high tier rogue. Now, a couple of honorable mentions here. We're going to talk about Fixer. So the Warrant has got a small buff. So the range has increased from 12 meters to 13 meters, and body damage has increased from 20 to 21 meters. Now, this is good because we all know that Fixer had gone through a series of nerfs. He is still a very strong rogue, but it's good to see that the Warrant is getting a little bit of a buff, and obviously that's going to affect Segret as well. So it's not enough to really change Fixer's position on the tier list. I think he's still going to be high A tier, S tier, but it is something that I wanted to note. And lastly, I want to talk about the buff that's going to be coming to the Harem. It's a very small buff, and it was really just like a little glitch. So basically, the max accuracy loss of bloom was greater than desired. So that means that now that bloom is going to be a little bit less, meaning that you should be able to hit more shots. I don't think this is going to be a huge buff for Dallas and Trench. Using it, I haven't really even noticed the difference that much. So I think it was something that was very, very small, but that is a buff for Dallas and Trench. This is not going to move them up or down on a tier list, but it is something worth noting. Now, as far as the meta goes, I don't think there's really been buffs or nerfs that are going to change the meta too much. Vi is still going to be a top pick in competitive. Dahlia is still going to be a top pick in competitive. Segret's buff is not going to make her pop up more in competitive or even demolition for that matter. If you like Segret, you're just going to be happy that she got some buffs, but she's not going to be like the go-to rogue now. They still need to do some work with her in order to make her viable and necessary for like high level teams. Scorch, her nerf, you may see her play slightly less. Maybe another rogue like, I don't know, Chalk or Lancer will start to fill that role in for duelists. But even with the nerfs, she's still a fairly strong rogue. She still may pop up in some competitive teams. The difference now is going to be that you cannot miss a shot with Scorch. You have to make sure that your timing on overheat is perfect and that you are hitting every bullet. And even with that, if they can get covered, you're definitely probably not going to kill them. I will put a link to the full tier list down in the description if you want to check out the other rogues that didn't really have any changes. And make sure to let me know what you think of that video as well. Thank you for watching. This is Scorch, of course. Peace, 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 peace.